Hey everybody, and welcome to the Writing Workshop Wednesdays in the Nature Journal Club. This is a free weekly workshop to focus on using words in our nature journals because a lot of times when people think about nature journaling, you think about pictures and artwork, and that's all awesome, but words and writing are also a really important part of it. And there's so much that we can do with words. We can think like a scientist and record our observations. And we can also put ourselves into our journals when we use words, our own experiences and our own perspectives and our emotions. And what does this experience mean in our life? How does it make our life richer and more interesting and more full of wonder and curiosity? So today, specifically, we are focusing on how to find your bird of the year. So as some of you might already know, this is a fun tradition that I learned about a few years ago. I saw some articles that someone had written about it, and it's very simple. Basically, the idea is the very first bird that you see in the new year is your bird of the year. And so this is just for fun, like don't take it too seriously. You can make up your own rules for how it works, personally, I don't include hearing the bird because then I might get it before I even get out of bed because I can hear the birds outside and I want to at least have a little bit of an adventure. So for me, I say that it counts like when we see the bird, but it doesn't count if you see it out the window or do you have to go outside first? That's up to you. And so it can be a way to connect with a specific species that lives around where you live, because one of the problems that I hear a lot of people have when you're getting into nature journaling or starting to pay attention to nature is that it can be so overwhelming. There are so many birds, so many plants, and so many animals, and you feel like you're never going to learn them all, and you don't know any of their names, and there's just so much to learn and so much to do. So I think that finding these kind of ways to connect to a specific species, and it doesn't have to be like, to the exclusion of anything else. And doesn't have to be something that you spend it doesn't have to be like a commitment, but just, have in the back of your mind throughout the year that whenever you see that bird, you're like, oh, that's my bird of the year. And it kind of just reinforces your connection to it and have the attention that you give to it. And so then maybe it can kind of spark like to you to notice more or to ask more questions and then think, oh, what's the answer to this question? Or I got to go look it up in a field guide or go look it up in some research or in a book, and just slowly starting to add those bits of information and connection. And what did I want to say next? Well, let's go on to our writing activities then. And then at the end, we'll have time to share for anybody who wants to. So the first thing I will say is, first of all, again, welcome to everybody who is new today. So for everybody who's new, I just want to reiterate that this is a completely no pressure, no judgment zone. Grammar and spelling, don't worry about them at all. This is all about getting your voice and your thoughts, paying attention to them, putting them out on paper or into a voice recorder and expressing yourself and learning more about nature and also learning more about yourself. So if you guys don't know, Ivea, who's here today, runs another group called Pencil Miles and Chill in the Nature Journal Club. And so, yeah, Ivea, do you want me to spotlight you for a second if you want to tell them about Pencil Miles and Chill?
Sure, that sounds fine. Hi, everybody. Sorry for my grainy video. So yeah, we have this thing that meets on Thursday mornings and Saturday afternoons called Pencil Miles and Chill. I see Sarah's here. She comes to Pencil Miles and Chill. The idea with that is to hang out with each other. Some of us work on our nature journals. Some of us share our pages. And we have conversations about nature adventures we've been on, or about different journaling techniques, or we ask each other advice, or just about anything. And our only rule is to be kind to each other in our groups, to know we all come from different backgrounds in terms of our art or our words, our nature journals, and our life experiences. And so everybody is welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ivea. So I definitely recommend checking that out if you're interested. And I'll put in a chat if Ivea doesn't. But that's, I just wanted to mention because I borrowed that from Ivea. Same rules here. Our only rule is to be kind to each other. And that's that. So lately, for everybody who's new, again, lately we've been doing a lot of oh, and the other thing is it's called Pencil Miles and Chill because this is something that the nature journaler John Muir Laws has kind of popularized this idea. If you've heard of him, it's this idea that, you know, talent is not as important to be an artist as you just got to put in your pencil miles. You got to do, the more you do it, the better that you'll get. So that's why it's called Pencil Miles and Chill. It's like hang out while you're getting in your pencil miles. And so I think that same concept also applies here to writing. It's a different kind of pencil miles, but it's still pencil miles, you know, like we don't need to judge ourselves or judge each other. It's just doing the process. The more we do it, the better at it we will get, and the better we're able to express our skills and grow our skills. Yes, so Ivea just put the Pencil Miles and Chill event into the chat. There's also John Muir Laws has on his website a nature journal community calendar, which has all of these. It has my events, Ivea's events, a bunch of other people's events. Many of them are free, and it's just a really wonderful community. So I encourage you guys to all check that out and pop in and learn from a bunch of different nature journal teachers. So the idea with pencil miles really applies to what we're doing here today, because in this workshop lately, we've really been focusing on this idea of stream of consciousness writing. You know, like we're not writing an essay for school. It's not going to get graded with a red pen. You know, you don't have to word everything perfectly. Just being able to pay attention, write down whatever comes out. You know, as you would be in the moment in nature with your nature journal, you know, just trying to record what's going on around you, maybe what's going on inside of you, and just trying to get it out as quickly as possible in that moment. So that's kind of what we're doing here today. So for our first little activity, I've got 3 prompts that we're going to do today that will help us to be able to find our bird of the year and to record it when we find it, make some notes so that we can remember that moment, and then we can share the story about what happened, what bird was it, and what does that experience mean to us. So the first one is simply, I'm going to put a timer on for 5 minutes, and I'm asking everybody to write down a list of what birds are common in your area at this time of year, and which ones do you think might end up being your bird, because they're the ones that are around you, they're the ones you're going to see when you get up in the morning. And I'm not sure how everybody's birding skills are in this group, and we probably have a range. So if you know the names of the species, write that down. If you don't know the names of the birds, that's okay. Just do a little description of them so that that's enough to tell that you know which bird you mean. So let's do that for 5 minutes. This is a very simple prompt. Maybe it won't take us 5 minutes, but just try to think through what birds live where you live at this time of year and that are common. So I'm getting a timer. Any questions so far about this prompt or just about anything? All right, I'm gonna start the timer right now. Okay, so we still have 3 minutes left. I know for me, I'm starting to get to the point where the obvious ones are all written down. I'm just trying to kind of rack my brain and see, who am I forgetting? So yeah, you just keep going as long as you can. Think of more birds, and if you feel like your list is done, maybe look through it and think about, if you could choose which one is your bird of the year, which one would you want to be? You know, like which one is like, oh, I hope I get that bird. Maybe you could add like a little doodle or a little sketch or a little bit about why you like that bird, or maybe where it lives, where have you seen it, where would you go to look for that bird if you wanted to try to have that bird be your bird of the year. You know, where is its daily haunts, where does it perch in the morning, where does it get some food to eat. Are there any birds that you only see once in a while that might be unexpected, but still could end up being your bird of the year? If you see them passing by, maybe. Okay, about 10 more seconds. Okay, the 5 minutes are up. So wrap up whatever you're doing, finish up if you're writing down a thought. So how did that go for everybody? Was it easy, hard? Did you come up with a good list of birds? Here's my list. So there's every bird has a 4-letter code. This is kind of an advanced thing. But for me, I know them, so it's easier to just write them down. So some of them, I just wrote these down. I'm in the northeastern United States, by the way, and not in upstate New York. So those are the birds that I'll have around. Oh, by the way, I forgot to show you this earlier. Check out what I got for Christmas from my aunt.
So cute.
Bird watching socks.
Oh,
It's
no.
got the little binoculars there.
Oh.
I just wanted to show you that because they're very cute. I'm very happy about them. Okay, so everybody wants my socks now. Okay, so our next activity is to think about a time in the past when you've seen or observed a bird, especially if you can think of one that was particularly memorable for you, or maybe something that felt inspiring or exciting, or maybe one that was more mundane, more everyday, like, oh, there's this bird that's always hanging out in the bush next to my house. But just some memory of a bird that you've observed in the wild that has some sort of significance to you. Maybe it's something about how the way that the bird lives, can, give you a lesson about how to live your own life. Or maybe you learned something new scientifically about the bird that was really interesting. So any kind of significant bird memory. And if you keep a nature journal or a birding field notebook, maybe you want to take a minute to look back through there and see if there's any particular memory that stands out. So any questions about that? Okay, I'm gonna put the timer down for another 5 minutes. Again, just do stream of consciousness, whatever comes into your head, just put it down on papers, even if you're not sure if like, oh, this is the right thing to say, or this isn't really important. Just listen to what's going on in your brain, put it down, and that will lead to the next thing and to the next thing and to the next thing. So 5 minutes. And if you have any questions, just put them in the chat and I'll try to help you out. So again, 5 minutes, starting right now. 1 minute left. If you're stuck or you feel like you're done, try to think about what was that moment like with all 5 senses? Are there any little details that might seem obvious, but that you could still put down that would help explain that event to somebody who was not there at all? Okay, once again, the 5 minutes are up. So wrap up your thought, whatever sentence you're on, finish it up. So how did this one go for everybody? How did it feel to write this out? Could you think of a moment pretty easily? Could you get into the flow of writing? Did you remember all of the details? Valerie is raising your hand. Do you want to say something, or you're just saying yeah?
Did you say me, Valerie?
Oh, I can't hear you. Can you guys hear Valerie? You guys can't? Okay, there's a problem on my end. Let me check out speaker. Sorry about that. Can you try again?
Okay, I had a really
Easy
easy
now.
I had a really easy memory to recall. It was last spring or maybe early summer. I was walking with my dog up in the Sierra, and there's a bald eagle that lives in this one intake 2 area up above Bishop. And the eagle was in his tree across, it's a Jeffrey pine. He sits up there and fishes from there. And he saw Maggie and I on the other side of the lake walking along. And my dog is black and white and about 30 pounds. She's real short though, she's a corgi mix. And he zoomed us. He came flying out of his tree across the lake and zoomed right over us. And I think he was trying to decide if Maggie was a possible meal. He knew I wasn't, but, and so that's in one of my nature journals. I don't have it here in the house with me. It's outside and it's snowing. So that was an easy memory to recall and write down. And that was really fun to think back of that this morning. So thank you.
Wow. I'm glad that your dog was with you.
She was close by.
Great. We'll have more time to share at the end. Is there anybody else who would like to share something right now about what did you write about, or how did the process go for you? Judy?
Yeah, when I was a graduate student, I went on a field trip to an area near Mayo, Michigan, which is in the middle of the Met, you might say. And there's an extremely rare warbler that lives there called Kirtland's warbler. I think it's probably one of the rarest birds in the whole United States. And people make special field trips just to see it. But I went for plant ecology because we were studying the interaction between the bird, the jack pine tree, and fire. The jack pine life cycle is controlled by fire, and the bird only nests under the trees that are between 4 to 20 feet tall. And so at every so many years, the habitat needs to be burned. And so it was really fascinating interaction between the bird, the jack pine trees, and fire.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, so if anybody's not familiar, fire ecology, we hear a lot, especially these days, or maybe some of you guys lived through the wildfires out in the Western United States and other parts of the world. And that's not a good thing. But wildfire itself is actually really important to a lot of ecosystems. Ecosystems go through succession over time, where the meadow turns into a grassland, which turns into a shrubland, which turns into a forest, which turns into a mature forest. But certain species of birds need certain kinds of habitat. So it's actually really important when the fire comes through and kind of turns back the clock a little bit on that ecosystem to have, so that all kinds of ecosystems can be represented in a region. So yeah, that's really cool that you studied that. Anybody else? Could have time for maybe one more person if somebody wants to share now. Lola, are you raising your hand? You're muted.
Oh, okay. Okay,
There you
sorry, I
go.
didn't realize I was. Anyways, my little story is about the first time I ever encountered a Carolina wren. I had never seen one before, and I was at a home that had a really big octagonal gazebo fenced in, and it was during the winter, but the door was taken down to get into the gazebo, so the little dog that they had could go in and out freely into that area. And as I was sitting there watching out, two little Carolina wrens flew right in the door. Of course, they were trapped in there. They landed on a hook at the top of the gazebo that was for a plant to hang on. And they were really scared. And the one little one was bigger than the other. So I thought he was probably the husband. The other one was the little wife. She seemed a bit more afraid. But he went onto each of the screens all around like this and tested, trying to get out. And then finally he found the door and went right out. And she went right out the door. She didn't have to test. So I thought that was kind of cute. And the first time I ever had a really good look at them. And I even got a picture of them. It was really special. That's it.
Great.
Mhm.
Thanks for sharing that. How long ago
Yeah.
did you say that was?
That was maybe 3 years ago now. And that was the first time, and I'm fairly new to birding. So that was really exciting for me to see. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it reminds me of earlier when I was saying about my nuthatch. It was, you know, they are really common, but I wasn't aware of them before that. And I remember, even though I've probably been seeing them my whole life, I do have a memory of that's the first bird that I noticed, that I had the experience of knowing, like, oh, this is the first time I've seen this bird, or at least
Right.
I've been aware of it.
It's
Like,
exciting. Then you always remember
you've
that
got a
time.
close look of those Carolina wrens.
Mhm, mhm. It's
Yeah, thanks for
special.
sharing your story.
You're welcome.
Okay, so for our last activity, we're going to do some practice of nature journaling in the field. So we've been doing, if you've been coming to this events, we've been doing a lot like prompts and doing the stream of consciousness and, you know, thinking about these things and memories of them. But what do you do when you're observing something in that moment? How do you capture your observations and still be paying attention to it, you know, not just like looking down, looking at your page the whole time. So I guess the tips I will give you for this, well, first let me pull up this video. Here we go. I'm going to share my screen. Can everybody see this? Not, so, can you nod or give me a thumbs up if you can see the video? Great. Some people cannot see it. I'm not sure why that is. Can you give me a thumbs down if you cannot see the video?
I see a message that says Rebecca Rolnick has started screen sharing, but I don't see the video.
Okay. Let's just try it again. Oh, it's a screen sharing. It's paused. Resume share. How about now? Is that better? Excellent. Okay, perfect. So I wanted to find a video that was just pure footage of birds, you know, like no music, no narration, no editing together, only the highlights of, you know, hours of content. So this says videos for cats to watch, but we're gonna watch it too because it was a good one that I could find. And this is actually a really good representative of the birds that I see in my area at this time of year. You know, like one of these species might be my bird. Although I will say my cat is here today with us in the background. So I guess it is for cats as well. Where was I? Yes, so, oh, Valerie's got a cat around too. Great, we'll have a cat bird watching party. Right, so you can either, a couple options here. If you've got a nature journal, you can do this activity in your nature journal, or you can do it on a separate piece of paper. So we're just gonna, this is very open-ended, but we're gonna focus on using words to capture the information of what we observe into our journal so that we can remember it later. And then we can think more deeply about it, and we can ask questions and learn more later on. And when we recorded it, then we can come back later and see how things have changed over time. And it can be part of this whole big thing in addition to just what's in this moment. So yeah, some ideas here. You could make lists of what birds come up, you know, how many are there? What do they look like? If you know the species, you can write that down. And again, if you're from somewhere else in the world, or if you don't, or if you're not familiar with these species, just write down what you observe. You know, what are their colors and shapes and sizes? What are their behaviors? What are they doing? And again, grammar, spelling, don't worry about them right now. Just yeah, full sentences, don't worry about that. Don't worry about getting like paragraphs like perfectly written explaining the story of what happened. Just get, what do you notice? Jot it down, use bullet points, use short phrases, use sentence fragments, use individual words just describing what's happening here, what's going on. And don't forget, you can also talk about the background, like what's kind of habitat is this? Where do we seem to be here? How does that affect what's happening? Yeah, how are the birds behaving? Not just who's there, but what are they doing? In what manner are they acting? Yeah, does that all make sense? Any questions about that? So I think this will be really good practice for observing birds in real time, in the wild, when you can't just pause nature and like, oh, let me just pause and, you know, get this down. You've got to go in real time. Because nature is happening all the time, all around us. It never ever stops. So if there are no questions, I'm going to put the timer on again for 5 minutes. And we'll do that. And oh, I'm also, where's the button to say share computer sound? Okay, I just clicked share sound, so I think you should all be able to hear the video. Oh, Vegas Kitty is there. Hi, Chandra. Yes. Our cats will, we can all enjoy this with our cats together. For those of us with cats. Okay. I will start the video now. And I'll turn, here's a timer. Okay, so I don't know if you can hear that bell, but that's for 5 minutes. So I'm gonna pause it there. I'll put the link for this in the chat too, if you want to keep going with this. There's a whole hour of this video. So before I open it up to sharing, well, first of all, just how did that go for everybody? Good, bad, easy? Did you get some notes down? Did it help you to notice any interesting things? Yeah, so I watched a little bit of this video earlier, just to make sure it would be good. But what I really noticed the second time, I don't know if you guys noticed, but the first time I was really just focused on like the center and seeing the birds like when they pop in there up close. What I really noticed this time was how the birds don't fly right there. First, they appear in the background, then they come a little closer, and then you see them like on the branches or on the tree off to the side, just kind of like watching and waiting. And then when they feel safe, they come in and get some food. So I hope that you guys all noticed some interesting things. Before we open it to share, I just want to give a few announcements. So this is the Nature Journal Writing Workshop Wednesdays. This is a free event for the Nature Journal community. However, donations are, if you are enjoying this and you are able and you would like to give a small donation, that's always welcome. That helps to keep the free programs going. So, but no pressure at all. Everybody is welcome here. What John Muir says, and what I like to say too, is that if you don't give a donation, just pass it on with an act of kindness. Find some way to pass it on to your community or to other people around you. Sharing the love of nature with each other. So I'll put a link if you would like to donate. I think the recommended is $15, but any amount at all, even a small one, is appreciated. Also, I'm going to put the link to the recordings of these workshops are all on my YouTube channel. If you want to watch this later, or if you want to share it with somebody, or if you want to watch any of the past recordings, they're all up there for you to take a look at. And the last thing is, if you would like to hear about more of these events coming up in the future and things that I do and that I teach, the best way to keep up with that is to subscribe to my email newsletter. I send out usually just one thing a week, some tips or inspiration or something to learn about connecting with nature. And for subscribing, you also will get, I have a free mini ebook that's called Science and Imagination, Exploring Words in Your Nature Journal. So if you like these kind of prompts and activities we've been doing today, to help you pay a little more attention to nature around you, to learn about it scientifically, but also emotionally and how like it connects to you, there are a bunch more of these prompts and activities in that booklet. So that's also a really great way that you can support me, but it doesn't cost anything. So just have to put those in there. And then also the Nature Journal community calendar, which Ivea already put into the chat. Definitely check that out. Check out the other Nature Journal teachers. And that's everything, I think. Before we go on, does anybody have any questions about anything? Okay, so I will open it up to sharing now. So this event technically goes till 1 o'clock, but I can stay on later for however many people would like to continue sharing or chatting. And then I can turn the video off at some point if somebody would like to share, but you don't feel comfortable sharing on the recording. So yeah, it looks like some people are starting to leave. So just to make sure I've got everybody, thank you all so much for coming. Thanks for being here. To all the ones who I'm seeing again, it's great to see you. And to everybody who's new, welcome, and so glad to meet you and to have you be here and have this virtual space where we can all be together and learn together. So yeah, just thank you so much for taking an hour out of your day to spend the time here with each other. So with that all out of the way, would anybody like to share how did that last activity, or if you want to talk about one of the earlier activities, anything that you want to share from what we did today? Do you want to, if you want to read out loud what you wrote, or just talk about what you wrote about, or how the process went for you, if you've changed what you think about how you do it. Oh, let's just do, before we do sharing again, I'd like everybody to invite everybody to put in the chat, what's your biggest takeaway from the class today? How will you apply this to your nature journaling when you go out and nature journal? And yeah, if you have to go, thanks for coming. Hope to see you again another time. We do this every week. So what's your biggest takeaway from today? Like the video. Oh, I'll put the video into the chat. Valerie, would you like to share something?
Sure, I'll go with one more time.
Just a second.
You can go ahead, Valerie.
Okay,
I'm just
well,
putting the link into the chat.
our
You can go
first
ahead.
guys, writing down all the birds that we see commonly, I realized that my 2022 bird has already picked me. I just have to make it happen, because I've had, for the first time this year, I've had a flock of ruby crowned kinglets in my backyard, and they love this bush that's right outside my kitchen window. So New Year's Day, all I have to do is leave all the shades closed until I get to the kitchen, and then raise the blind and stand there and wait, and they will come. So I've got my bird already.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good luck. I mean, and like there are no rules here too. So if you feel like, oh, that's your bird of the year, you could pick it, or you could make up your own rule where like the bird you see is your bird of the year, but then you also have this other bird of the year, which already picked you. So that's really great. Okay. Anybody else? Would you like to share? How did the activity go with the video too? Did you get some information down? What did you notice about them? I noticed particularly that, did you guys notice that white-breasted nuthatch? So the white and black bird that was hanging out on the tree, the one that goes like kind of upside down, and he was like had his wings out and was like, I was just watching the whole time like, what is going on? What are you doing? I don't know if I've observed that behavior before. I'm like, is it some kind of like male aggression thing? Is he like showing off for the ladies? Is like, is he trying to intimidate the cardinal into leaving? Like, what's going on here? That was pretty interesting. And again, these are my notes. They're not like full sentences. Like this is messy. I'm just writing down literally what I see. Just like blue jay pecks at seeds, cock's head, pecks on suet, tilts head back, junco appears in the branches. Blue jay flies away, calls, junco comes closer, hops down to suet, nibbles at it. Oh, and then I was writing that the cardinal has seeds all over his beak, messy eater. So just that's how I approached it, just like very quick little observations, literally what I see. And even when just reading out loud, I did add back in some like saying the full name of the bird, putting in like the pronouns, like it's very bare bones what I actually wrote down. I'm just like cardinal Yeah, I think you get the point. Would anybody else like to share how that activity went for you, what you noticed, or anything from today?
I noticed that the only real bird call was the blue jay in the beginning. And I seem to remember that's called a pump handle call because it sounds like of an old-fashioned water pump, like at a state park or something.
You said pump handle?
Pump handle call.
Oh, I've never heard that name for that call before. I think it's the Blue Jays
You
alarm
should
call,
look it up.
right?
I think that's what it's called.
Oh, that's great.
Blue jays make all birds make a number of different calls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And maybe this is different from the alarm call, but the Blue Jay often makes a call like that as an alarm call. It's like, hey, there's
That's
a
true.
hawk or some kind of predator, and then all the other birds will like fly away.
Right.
Blue Jays can be kind of mischievous though. Sometimes they'll make the alarm call, or they'll even mimic a hawk sound when there's not really a hawk, and then all the other birds will fly away from the bird feeder, and then the Blue Jay will fly in and get the food because everybody else has ran away. Yeah, it was interesting. I didn't hear any other songbirds, any songs or calls. Like at least where I live, this time of year can be pretty quiet. You know, it's not breeding season. They're not singing all over the place. But the birds are still out there. You know, as a bird, you don't want to draw attention to yourself if you don't have to. So I think this time of year, like they can just keep quiet, go get their food, and that's it. Yeah, thank you, Judy. Ivea? Oh, and then Connie, are you raising your hand? Okay, you can go next, Connie, after Ivea.
I was surprised that I was able to see the birds in a way, because I've always thought of myself as not being very good at identifying birds, or just self-conscious about that, but I could actually see bits of them. And I kind of fell into quick sketching them because I'm still learning what they even look like. But I could make the quick notes, and it was okay that they didn't look perfect, and that for me, most of them are just puffballs with tails. I could like look at their beaks, or I could look at the one that had the distinctive white triangle on the face. That one had the white triangle on the face, and the term chestnut, black-capped chickadee came up to me, but I was like, maybe I'm wrong about that, but I just put a question mark, and then like just being able to write down quickly what I was seeing made me happy. And then the blue jay made me especially happy because we recently had a class on drawing the scrub jay, and I knew that it was going to be similar, but I knew that it wasn't the scrub jay, and it made me all happy to see like the black through the eye, and I was going, that must be one of those cool blue jays I keep hearing about. And then also earlier on, I'd written a list of birds, and I thought, that's more birds than I thought I knew. So just this is making me want to go learn more birds. So thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, isn't it so fun how we both have jays where we're across the country, but they're different kinds of jays, and yet they're still so similar in their shape and their behavior. And it's like you could, yep, that's a jay. The blue jays have the crest. That's fun. That's fun. Stellars jays have crests too, right? Do you have those, or you just have scrub jay?
It looks like they have some kind of, wait, maybe I'm getting confused with the Stellar's jay. We drew the Stellar's jay recently.
The blue with the black head, right?
Maybe.
I think we don't have them here. I think I've only seen them once when I was in California. But that's, yeah, and I really like what you're saying about like in the chat, you're saying you don't think of yourself as a birder, and like you feel intimidated. And often birders can be pretty competitive. It's like, oh, I've seen 500 species of birds, I've seen 1,000 species of birds, and gotta check them all off the list, and it's like a competition. And no, that's fun. You know, that can be fun for people who enjoy that. But you know, all of us, like just being human, you know, we're inherently kind of naturalists, and we live in this world that we're surrounded by birds, and even if we don't know everything, you know, we can still pay attention. And like, yeah, I'm living my life and the birds are living their lives, and we're all here and you can pay attention to them and get joy from noticing them and learning a little bit more about them each time. And it doesn't have to be like intimidating or like, oh, like I don't count as a bird, or like I'm not, and my skills aren't good enough yet. Like we all have our senses and our minds and our ability to pay attention, and we can use that to observe and record what we observe. Yeah. Okay, Connie, you wanted to share next.
Yeah. Yes, I'm done. Probably my bird will be the great blue heron. I have a long list of birds that I see, but that's the one that resides at the end of my street and has nests there. I watched them last year, and I'm going to watch them again this year. They had been absent through the summer in the tree. They just kind of abandoned the nest. But all of a sudden, one has shown up and reclaimed the big nest that was there from last year. So they will take it on and hatch, put their eggs there, and they'll hatch them and that. So the great blue heron. So that was a good exercise to kind of think what you'd focus, although I probably was gonna focus on that one. Anyway, the nest is in the very top of a pine tree. So it's very hard to see the eggs or even the babies. Last year, I don't think I recognized them until there were two great blue herons fighting. And I realized that one of them was probably in that teenage stage just before fledging, and they were fighting to be fed. I didn't know that. I thought it was just fighting. So an interesting observation from the past. But my funnest one I want to share with you guys that you might want to join in is in Southwest Florida live cam for eagles. And they just had their babies. If you haven't been tuned into that, they had one on really on Monday. It began to peck away on Sunday. And then the other one just pecked through last night and opened up, and they're there. So we got two brand new babies, less than 1 day old, and they'll follow them on the webcam for a long time. So it's been a lot of fun in the last 3 days. And that's what I'm doing, sketches and a little story of the eaglets. So join in and just Google it. South Florida live web.
South Florida live web. Do you know specifically?
South Florida Eagle Cam, I believe it's what it comes up under. I mean, I can find it and post it, but
yeah. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. It's
yeah,
really...
they have 3 cameras, and one of them is up close. They even show it during the night because they have one of those infrared things. I was going to go in and see if I could. I didn't think. Yeah, Southwest Florida Eagle Cam, and it'll come right up. So she sets on the nest a lot, but every once in a while you will get to see the babies. And they've been attacked by owls frequently in the last month and a half. I really didn't know that happened. They not sure why it's happening, because it's happening more frequent than normal, they say.
What did you say is happening more frequently?
Owls are attacking the eagles, a great horned owl that doesn't live too far from the nest. And they say the danger will become when the babies get too big to be able to stay under the mother. So anyway, that's the good and bad of nature, I guess. We'll see.
Yeah, all of them are.
So it was 2 things I'd share. Yeah. Did you find it, or shall I try and put it in the?
It's this. I found this link. It's an unexpected URL, but it says dickpritchettrealestate.com.
Yep.
And that has an Eagle Cam.
They're sponsoring it. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. And it says that right now there are 1,495 people online watching the Eagle Cam. That's a lot of people.
It even hit our news down here, so it was a big deal to be able to see the babies being born. So
that's awesome.
It was. There was a couple. They're called Harriet and Ozzie and Harriet, like maybe 15 years ago. But Ozzie passed away, and she took on a new partner, M15, and so it's she and Harriet and M15 that's had the babies, and they've been watching them for 10 years on a cam. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I haven't watched them in years, but I tripped over it again this year. So quite interesting. So there's some sketching opportunities and observations in that one. They don't move very fast.
Yeah, it can be hard to get birds to sit still and to
Yeah.
sketch them or write about them. So
That's
this is
my worst.
great.
That's my worst problem. I have a bird feeder outside my window, but things like titmouses and Carolina wrens, probably it could be a black capped. I don't know. I'm a newbie at doing much with birds other than just watching behaviors. But they're so fast, I have a real hard time ever drawing them in the live, it seems. But
Mhm.
did a little thinking when we watched the video today on
Mhm.
how to pick up postures, behaviors, positioning. And the more I think about that, I think then it would be easier to make observations about a bird that's on the move. I'll see.
Yeah.
So thank you.
today?
Thank you for the day.
So what today helped you to pick out those things and just, like, quickly get them down, so the posture and the, was there anything specific that just being more conscious of it, or?
I think it's more conscious, but I also remembered what Jack says when he said, say it out loud.
Yes.
So has a black head, has a white throat, has black strips on the wings amongst the gray, verbalize the what I'm seeing in it, because I just trying to look up and down, I miss them. Trying to draw them. Yeah.
Yes, I've heard Jack talk about that too. And he says it's called the production effect, which is where when you say it out loud, it kind of like goes into, I don't know the neuroscience of it, but it goes into like a deeper part of your brain so that you like more fully, get the observation in your brain. And I think that the idea that it can also help, like you were just saying, so you're not looking down all the time to write it on your paper, because that also helps to do that processing. But you can look the whole time and just say to yourself, like, yeah, black head, white body, flicks tail, eats some seeds. And then, after it flies away, after you're done, you can jot those notes down. And then that also helps if you have somebody else with you, that you can say your observations, they can say their observations. You might observe more things, more details in between two of you, or your observations might disagree. And like, oh, that's a gray head. No, it's a brown head. And then you can say, okay, well, wait, this isn't matching up. We got to take a closer look and check this out again. So yeah, that's a great thing that you can do. Say things out loud, verbalize it while you're observing. Yeah, so thanks again for sharing that that Eagle Cam. And I think that can be, if anybody doesn't have access to a lot of nature right now, either because of the time of year, or maybe if you're stuck inside or you don't have a lot of natural places to go to, yeah, using these kind of cams can be a really great way to get a close-up look at nature and do some nature journaling, do some sketching, do some writing, and learn new things right from your own house in your pajamas.
Well, by watching the cam, it caused me to take note of a lot of things that happen around eagles that I would have never won. One is it takes 35 days to hatch the egg. They were egged about just before Thanksgiving. They do a pip, which is the little crack in the egg, the PIP. I wouldn't have known that went with that. So there's a little crack in the egg. The eaglet will eat the whole yolk inside the egg before it's born. And so it has a lot of protein in it and nutritional substance inside it. I would have never known birds, and maybe it's the only one, but it eats all the stuff inside the egg before it's born. And they're downright ugly, kind of a wet mess when they are born, but when they dry up, they're so fluffy and so cute. That's kind of the fun side of the observation versus what happens to them. So it's been a learning experience. I've been quite excited this week.
it's such a closer personal look at these birds. You know, like normally
Yeah.
they're way up in a tree or somewhere. Like there's no way we could know all these
Ever
things
see
happen.
it.
So like even if you do have nature, lots of access to nature around you, you could still tune into these and like see something that you would never see that perspective just in the wild, and without having any humans around to kind of be wary of, like just in like really capturing their everyday life.
I think there are
And-
about 7 eagle cams across the United States. I think mostly may have gone into Canada, but some of them are in the Sonoy territory right now. I noticed. I mean, not much activity there, but of course, being in Florida, there's quite a bit of activity.
Yeah, and there are a lot of different animal cams and bird cams and various. Cornell Lab of Ornithology has a few different really good ones. They've got owls and hawks and some tropical birds and northern bird feeders, and yeah, just a lot of great. And maybe if you have a favorite one, maybe put that in the chat to share with us. I don't know if they still do it. I know when I was in elementary school, my teacher always showed us there was a falcon cam on the, I think it's in the Kodak building in Rochester downtown. There'd be a peregrine falcon nest. So every year we would look at that, and I think I wasn't super into birds at the time. Like it wasn't for several years after that, but it kind of maybe seeded the interest. It was always so fascinating, like as a little kid to look at that. So animal cams, a lot of opportunities there. All right, so would anyone else like to share about anything? Any questions about anything? Any thoughts? I don't see anybody jumping to go, so I'm going to turn the recording off now. If anybody would like to share and not be on the recording, this is going to be your time. So yeah, if you're watching the recording, thanks for watching, and thanks everybody for coming, and see you next time.